Placer County has been a major access point into California since the gold rush days. Travel with us over the highways of time. The early trail over Donner's Summit was narrow and treacherous. Most of the early routes were difficult traveling, even in the best of weather. Theodore Judah, engineer for the Central Pacific Railroad, laid out the route for a highway, the Dutch Flat Donner Lake Wagon Road, which, despite the initial skepticism, became the most modern highway in the state. After the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, trains became the primary means of transportation for both people and freight. The wagon roads, particularly those going over the summit, were not frequently used and fell into disrepair. By the time the California Department of Highways was formed in 1895, the old Dutch Flat Donner Lake Wagon Road had become a crude mountain trail. As the horseless carriage became more refined and more reliable, the American public eagerly purchased this new source of transportation and demanded better roads on which to drive these vehicles. By 1910, there were 180,000 registered motor vehicles in the United States, but only 7% of the roads on which they drove were improved in any fashion, and very few of those miles were actually paved. The movement for a transcontinental highway was conceived by entrepreneur Carl Fisher and enthusiastically received by businessmen, citizens, and community leaders nationwide. The Lincoln Highway Association chose the route for the Lincoln Highway in 1913, but major construction did not begin until the passage of the Federal Aid Road Act of 1916. Despite its lack of highway improvements, Americans took to the new highway in increasing numbers. Construction on California's section of the Lincoln Highway began quickly. As early as 1916, travelers reported the road west of Donner Pass was in good shape, and some sections, like this one near Gold Run, were even concrete. Motor touring had become a popular form of recreation. New routes were created to bring the benefits of tourism to more areas of the country. One such road, the Victory Highway, followed the same path as the Lincoln Highway from Reno to Sacramento. After World War I, the state and federal governments took over the job of highway construction. As part of this move toward public highways, it was decided to have route numbers, not names. The road through Placer County became Highway 40, Donner Summit, Rainbow Tavern, Colfax, Applegate, Auburn, Newcastle, Penryn, Loomis, Rockland, Roseville. In the early years, US 40 was not an all-weather highway. The snows of the Sierra winter were left unplowed. This same snowpack, however, was a strong lure to the advocates of the newly revived sport of skiing. In 1931, the Auburn Ski Club lobbied the state legislature for funds to keep US 40 open in the winters. Their efforts included a well-attended ski jump competition. The traffic jam resulting from this event convinced the legislators that an all-weather highway would be popular with their constituents. The public did eagerly embrace this new travel opportunity, despite its initial cost of nearly $900,000 and the accompanying increase in gas taxes. Construction to improve US 40 continued through the 1930s. Sections of US 40, such as the grade over Donner Summit, were considered engineering marvels. As traffic increased, a service industry of garages, restaurants, service stations, and motor courts sprang forward to assist the traveling motorist. A new form of advertising also took form, the billboard. Among the most popular of these was the poetic Burma shave signs. All aspects of life changed with the United States' entry into World War II. US 40 became a military supply route. Military police were assigned to guard US 40 and the railroad, both vital supply lines from sabotage. For the civilian population, many items, including gas, auto parts, and tires, were rationed. Motorists were encouraged to carpool and reminded that conserving fuel was the patriotic thing to do. The end of World War II signaled a new era for the country. Even as this era dawned, the great cost of the war was commemorated by US 40 being designated as the Blue Star Memorial Highway. The auto industry geared up to provide new vehicles for the returning veterans and the civilians who had gone without for so long. By the early 1950s, two-lane US 40 was becoming congested. A vocal lobby led by the Chambers of Commerce in both California and Nevada, called for the construction of a four-lane highway. Scenes such as this one west of Donner Summit convinced the California Department of Transportation that a new road was needed. Construction began with a section east of Auburn and continued throughout the 1950s. The stated goal was to have a four-lane highway completed in time for the 1960 Winter Olympics. Construction on the foothill section of the highway went quickly. Construction in the Sierras was a slower, more complicated process. The Sierra construction was tackled one section at a time. By the fall of 1959, a four-lane road composed of new construction and the old US 40 was open over the summit. Inclement weather in January 1960 caused slides and damage to a section of the new highway. Crews worked around the clock to complete a detour 2 days before the 1960 Olympics started. The crowds poured into Squaw Valley on the improved highway, now known as Interstate 80. The permanent four-lane highway was completed in 1964. After construction in the 1980s, sections of Interstate 80 now are 6 lanes.